I'm Joe Lewkowicz with Coldwell Banker Realty, and this is the September live streaming. I'm going to be answering questions here and talking about the real estate market in North West Tampa. I'm with Coldwell Banker, and just a recap of kind of what's been happening. School just started. The market will start to slow up just a little bit. However, not as much as most people would think. I actually was running the numbers in the $400,000 to $600,000 price range for all the homes that have sold in Northwest Tampa for the last several years, and compared the sales of 2018 compared to the sales of 2017. And on a month-by-month basis, we're a few less sales this year, 317 in 2017 compared to 285 this year in the whole price range, and by a month to month. But that can vary by month, and so a lot of different variables there. Usually the market will slow down a little bit. In August, we'll have had in that price range, 400,000 to 600,000, which would be neighborhoods like Villa Rosa, Cheval, West Chase, Old Carrollwood, so a lot of areas like that where, mid-upper, middle class, people being relocated in, people moving not from their first home upwards. So that area, we had 45 sales in August, and in July we had 52 sales, so a little bit of a drop there. Now closings take place roughly 30 to 45 days after the sale. So an August closing represents most likely a July sale. A July closing most likely represents a June sale. Could be early June, could be late June, but just figure that. Now, in September of 2017, so a year ago compared to August, there were, I believe it was approximately 48 sales done in that price level, and there were 42 done in September. There were 35 done in October. There were 30 done in November. So you can see the trend, and then a bounce back up to 45 sales in December. My theory is that a lot of people, and having sold quite a few houses in December, a lot of people are making the decision, I decided I was going to buy a house before the end of the year. And I've heard that prices are really good because, candidly, everybody who didn't make a decision to do something beforehand is doing that. And they want to get into a property before the year ends. So that's why that big bump up, and I've seen it happen from about November 15th to about December 10th, because they want to be able to close before December 31st. Now, interest on mortgages is still tax deductible. So a lot of the folks, if you want to buy a house, and let's say that you're going to have a $3,000 mortgage payment, of which most of that is interest on your loan, that's $2,000 a month. You'd rather it start. You don't want it starting in June. That gives you $12,000 of tax deduction, versus if you could have it start in January, that's $24,000 that's tax deductible. Depending on your tax rate, that's a lot of savings. Okay. Also, we've got a $10,000 cap on sales tax and property tax per the IRS. Now, I'm not an accountant, but your property taxes are prorated for the whole year. So in other words, if you have a property tax bill that's about $5,000, that's all tax deductible the sooner you get in. So in other words, there's a lot of tax savings. Make sure if you're going to buy a house and you wanted to do it make sure you get in before the end of the year, so you've got the whole tax savings for the rest of the year. Good time to buy is coming up right now. So with that said, let's get into see what any questions that somebody's got, and if I can help answer some of them. Okay, so name one first-time homebuyer rookie mistake you see that I see the most, and tips on how to avoid it. Okay, a couple of issues come up with this. Number one, people go look at a lot of houses and they don't know what they can afford. And meaning, like, you'll go, I'm looking at houses that are $400,000 and my budget is $250,000. Okay, talk to a mortgage broker first, because here's what happens. You start going to see houses that are $400,000 and you can only afford a $250,000 house. You get spoiled. You think, it makes you so you can't make a decision. It'd be like going to look at a Mercedes when you can really afford a Kia. Okay, so that kind of thing. Talk to a mortgage broker, get pre-qualified, figure out what your budget is, put it in the max terms. And then one of the other things that I think you should do, if it's your first home, spend as much money as you possibly can right off the bat. When I did this, I was extremely conservative when I bought my very first house. Within a year, I'm going, the payments are nothing. And to give you an idea how we're going back a long ways, you know, my payments were like $375 a month. And I'm going, I don't know if I can afford it. Well, within a year, it's like nothing. And nowadays, $375 a month, people would be going crazy. So talk to your mortgage broker or talk to a mortgage broker. And if you want the name of a couple of really good ones, I've got them. And get pre-qualified and then spend as much money as you can because it's expensive to buy and sell. Okay, and then also talk to a really good real estate professional that can give you good advice about location, upside, and what your needs are. And then the third thing on being a rookie buyer is buy what you want. Sometimes you're going to say, I want to get a really good investment. Well, that's fine. But if you don't like the house, okay, and if you're married and it's a couple, you both have to like the house. If you don't like it, you're going to sell it before you should have, or before you needed to, because you say it doesn't work for us, and you'll be moving sooner, and that's expensive. To buy a new house and to sell a new house, you got fees, you got expenses, and it just will cost you more money. Let's see if there's another question. In your opinion, is the North Tampa market growing or declining? Well, in the last year, it's gone up about, depending on the section of that, West Chase, Old Carrollwood, certain areas like that have gone up 7 to 8%, some places 9% in the last year. Almost every area, all the way through State Road 54, a little bit of early Pasco, even they went up 4 or 5% the last year. Now, inflation's not that much, so we're actually going up faster than inflation. We're almost, in most places, we're to the 2005, 2006 pricing, which was before the recession went down and, you know, prices dropped by half. That's not so, it's not such a high market that we're in a big bubble in this side of town. But I think we're still gonna grow. There's a lot less inventory available. The biggest challenge that we run into is that for first-time home buyers, it's expensive to come up with a down payment to buy a house. So this is another reason for talking to a good mortgage person, good realtor that can help you get into a home to begin with, because prices are going to go up at least 3-4%. And historically in North Tampa, throughout the years, the appreciation rate's been a little bit better than inflation, 3.1 to 3.5% for most markets throughout, if I were to take the last 50 years. Let's see if there's another question coming in. Is it better to price high and leave room for negotiations? Almost every seller that I talk to wants to price high and says, I'm going to negotiate. Now, I was at a place yesterday where the houses, the median negotiation on 15 houses that had sold was less than 1%. And these were all in the $400,000 to $500,000 price range, meaning that a house that was for sale for $450,000 from the final list price negotiated less than $5,000 as an average. So what happens is a lot of people want to sell. Let's say your house is really worth $450,000. A lot of sellers will say, I want to be at $480,000, $485,000. That's $35,000 of negotiations. What happens is the buyers don't even want to look at your house. And when they look at your house, they're going, it's too much money. I'm going to go buy this house over here. And maybe it's brand new construction. And I can buy this for $485,000, or I can buy it for $450,000. And if it's new, they'll go, I get a brand new house, I get everything that I want, and no one else has lived in it. Or if it's less money, it's got this, 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 and this for $35,000 less. I like this house. Let's make an offer on this. Now, that's not to say they're not going to make you a lower offer to begin with, okay? But it means that once they make an offer, they really want your house. You might have to settle for a couple $1,000s off the price, okay, just to soothe somebody's ego. But if you're $35,000, if you're 10% over the true market value, you're out of the market. You need to talk to somebody like myself that can tell you, here's where the market is, here's what you need to do. And one of the things that we found, Coldwell Banker did a study of all their sales, the houses that were priced right off at the right price that sold within 1 to 2% of list price, sold within 0 to I think it was 0 to 40 days. Okay. Now the ones that were priced that took price reductions of 5% or more all took 60 to 90 days to sell on average. Okay. And the ones that were 10% or more over the market ended up taking over 120 days. And then they lowered their price before they sold. So yes, it's very important to get the pricing right. Don't leave as much room for negotiations as you think. Let's see if there's another question. In all relationships, communication is key. So if I'm trusting you with this big sale of mine, how will you keep me informed? And that's one of the big things that I know people object to with a lot of other agents. They don't keep them up with what's going on. And matter of fact, a lot of people that I compete with have, some of the people have 30, 40 people on their team. A lot of them have 5, 6 people on their team. So, and they don't have a feel for the market. They're not talking to the people that are buying. They're not talking to the agents that are buying. They're not communicating, here's what the feedback is. Now, a lot of agents don't give us feedback, okay? And I understand that. If they like your house, they're gonna let you know. But one of the things is I'm in constant contact with, I probably talk to my listings at least once a week, if not 2, 3, sometimes 4 or 5 times a week, letting them know what's going on, letting them know here's what's got to happen. If it's somebody buying one of our houses, heck, we're in touch with them once every other day. I've got myself, one assistant, my wife helps with me, and that's it. And considering, in our latest newsletter, if you happen to be one of the people that get that, you'll see how many more sales I have than the next person in the market. So it is very important, and communication is one of the issues in our business is that we've got so many new agents and they don't know how to communicate. They don't know the skills, and that's a really big deal. See if there's another question that came up. Here we go. Is there a difference between a list price and a sales price? We kind of talked about that a little bit before. The list price is where you'd like it to be. Here's where I've got it advertised for sale to the open public. The sale price is what you guys agree on for an offer, okay? Now, sometimes they're exactly the same. For example, I have a house this morning that we just got a full price offer on. Why? Because we priced it well, okay? Sometimes the sale price is here and the list price is here, it'll be here, and usually if you've done it right, it's within 1 to 2% of where you listed it at. Sometimes neighborhoods are slower moving, sometimes neighborhoods are faster moving. Sometimes the sales price can be higher than the list price. So, and some agents do this as a strategy, and it's somewhat risky. Sometimes auctions do this as a strategy, again, somewhat risky. You can put a house for sale, let's say $350,000, and it's really worth about $5,000, okay? And sometimes it'll go for $5.25. The reason it's risky is sometimes it only goes for $450 when you would have gotten $500 otherwise. So there is a difference, and you just need to be aware of that. Let's see if there's another question. I've heard of something called a CMA. What is that, and how can that help me as a first-time home buyer? And I love jargon. CMA, what does that mean? CMA stands for Competitive Market Analysis. And they're all over the place as to what they look like. There is no set form for them. But what it is I would come in, look at your house, know what the market is, and show you what you're competing with compared to other people. Now, one of the biggest questions that people look at when they're out buying, or I hear it from other agents, is this house is this much cost per foot. Why is your house here? Or if your house is here, it's a really good deal. Why is it that way? Now, and that's generally on a CMA, a competitive market analysis. In other words, a house that sold that was 2,000 square feet, sold for $200,000, was $100 a foot. If it sold for $300,000, it was $150 a square foot, okay? So now, if in your neighborhood, houses are going for $150 a square foot and you're asking $200 a square foot, you better be able to justify it. And that's where a really good person like myself, who's got the feel for the area, can help you, okay? Do you have a 3-car garage? Is your house decked out? Matter of fact, we're doing a home inspection on a house this morning that's way more expensive than the neighborhood. But the people bought it for $450,000 and they put in almost $500,000 into the house, and it's gorgeous. Okay, and candidly, it's worth it. We're selling it for $6. Okay, listed at $6, sold for $6. Okay, they're giving people a really good deal, but we have to justify it as to why. So let's see if we got one last question. And is inventory harder to come by in the fall season? And how does rising inventory affect rates? Okay, well, that's kind of a double-edged question. Inventory, there's less available at this time of year, all the way generally October through January. People just decide not to put their houses on the market during the holiday season. They just don't want to go through the hassle of moving. Not everybody. If you have to move, you really have to move. The people that have to move at this time of year are really motivated to sell. The people that want to buy this time of year, really, it's a great time to buy a house, because people who have it on the market really need to make it happen at this point. And a couple of months ago, they may not have needed to do that. Now, rates are could be considered interest rates, but I think what this question means is, how does it affect pricing? As the inventory goes up, prices will either stagnate or go down. Okay, so in other words, if in the hottest market that we have right now is below $250,000, or call it below $200,000, first-time home buyers can get in. If it's a nice house, if it's in decent shape and people don't have to do a lot of work, it's going to sell $200,000 and maybe bring a little bit more. Okay, if we add 8 houses to the existing inventory of that, people are going to say, I don't need to pay that much. Maybe now it's worth $190, and that's how it'll affect things. As you go up the price ladder, there becomes a lot more available. And at this time of year, the inventory is liable to sit a little bit longer, okay, because people have got summertime pricing in their mind when it should be fall pricing. And if they get it right, they'll get it sold. If they don't, the house will sit on the market. So I'm going to wrap up here. This was the September live stream market report for North West Tampa. And again, my name is Joe Lewkowicz. I'm with Coldwell Banker, and no one works harder to sell your home.